All right, hello everybody. Happy Monday, the 2nd of March. Thank you for joining us here today. We will be getting started here in just a few moments. There are a bunch of folks jumping on here as we speak. So again, thank you for taking the time to join us here for our walkthrough of the new DLP Invest portal. And again, we'll get started very shortly. All right, so since it's 6:01, we'll go ahead and get started. Thank you all again for jumping on for our walkthrough of the DLP Invest portal. As I see a number of you folks here on the line are existing investors, which is fantastic, and some folks that I haven't had the pleasure of meeting yet, so that's fantastic as well. We'll go through a brief overview of things and then do a nice overview of the portal itself, and then talk about some next steps. And at the end, make sure we can talk through any questions. We'll take some questions through the chat. But feel free as we go through to enter your questions in the chat box as we go, and we'll definitely make sure to address them towards the end of the call. So with that said, we'll go ahead and we'll get started. So as we know, here we are going through to our DLP Invest portal, but there's a little bit about us I'd like to just mention for those of you who are not currently invested with us. So DLP Capital Partners is a private investment group. We raise capital to deploy into our lending and multifamily strategy, and we've done so since 2008. You can see this is our family of companies here under the DLP Real Estate Capital umbrella. So you have DLP Realty, our real estate brokerage. DLP Capital Partners, of course, is our team here. Direct Lending Partners are the team that are putting that money out into the short-term loans that we do through our lending fund and soon through our DLP Housing Fund. DLP Real Estate Management is property and asset management. DLP Offers for our guaranteed sale program. Our newest team, the Bright Homes team, single family scattered lot development buildings for both purchase and now, happy to say, for rent. And then Alliance Property Transfer and Alliance Servicing, doing our title and servicing work on all of our loans. Here's a snapshot of our current numbers. Last year, we sold over 2,089 homes. We have over 850 current investors, many of which are on this call here today. So thank you all for being with us. 400 plus loans under management, 12,000 plus units owned in the portfolio and growing, over $850 million in assets under management, and almost at the $900 million mark. 100 million in total annual revenue. And as you can see here, we provide 20,000 people with housing, over 20,000 people with housing. We fund over 200 individual entrepreneurs, companies that are going out and helping provide affordable housing as well. And then over 350 team members. As of today, we added 17 total in the last week. So very, very excited for our consistent growth. If you haven't met him already, our founder and CEO here is Don Wenner. And of course, he started the company back in 2006, has closed over 14,000 real estate transactions, totaling over $3 billion. And then, of course, includes more than 15,000 homes and apartments. As you can see here, numerous awards and accolades, but Don will be the first to tell you his proudest group that he's been associated with is his beautiful family there, Carla, Donnie, and Alex. Here's our executive leadership team that drives results across the family of companies. And you'll see from DLP Capital Partners specifically, we have Rich Delgado, our managing director, Dominique Song, managing director and senior counsel, and then myself on the investor relations side. And here is the team that does all of the work that helps make sure that everything continues to go smoothly for you as investors, our investor success team. So you have Bob Shimanek, Mike Krawchuk, who many of you have spoken with. Most of you, if not all of you, have interacted with Mandy Danish, as well as Lisa Metzger. You also have Dan Cocamilio, who's our portfolio fund and treasury analyst. Joanna, sister-in-law, capital accounting team leader, making sure that we're posting all of our items and really did a heavy lift with this new platform. Meg Doves taking care of all of our marketing for DLP Capital Partners. You may have spoken with Julia Movanchik, our success coordinator here in St. Augustine, Florida, where I'm talking to you from. Monica, Danny, Samantha, Tyler, and Stephanie, all supporting our team as well, doing lots and lots of excellent work on a day in, day out basis, all with you, our investor, in mind. So why did we move to the DLP Invest portal? There are a couple of reasons. So the first and really the main is for an improved investor experience. So with that said, you can see here in the past, our previous portal was a manual upgrade or a manual update. So when you look at that, we were doing entries on the accounting side as well as on our investor portal. So certainly that caused delays. It could have caused mistakes, and it wasn't really the most efficient way of doing things. So we did a heavy lift and completed this on the front end, which we'll talk a little bit more about here shortly. And in the end, we'll provide a smoother experience well into the future because of the fact that we will have full integration, and we do have full integration with our accounting software. And then a simplified investor interface. It's a more streamlined view for you as an investor. It gives you more tools to be able to review your investments and then continue to have that confidence with us going into the future. So before we go to the live site, for anyone on the call here who does not currently have an account with us or who does not currently have a portal link, I'd like to show you how to get one. So what we'll do here is we'll talk about registering for the portal. We'll view some of our offerings here, and then we'll talk through, once you become an investor, how you would access and navigate your accounts with us. So number one, if you go to dlpcapitalpartners.com or to DLP invest.dlpcapitalpartners.com, you can get access to our portal. dlpcapitalpartners.com, if you look here on the top right-hand side where the arrow is pointing, you can click on Investor Login, and that will direct you to our portal page. It'll look a little bit like this. So if you already have an email address and password associated with your portal, this is where you would come to log in. Or if you needed to request a portal invitation, you can click on Need Help or email directly to info@dlpcapitalpartners.com, and we'll be happy to get that invitation out to you immediately. Our whole team is standing by to make sure that you can get into the portal quickly. So once you've actually gained entrance into the portal, you'll be able to see all of our offerings right here on the DLP Capital Partners offerings page. So what I'm going to do here now is I'm going to go over here to another page which will show you our live interface. So I'm going to go over to the live interface now. So what we've done is I've created a sample portal for you, and if you, Kyle, you just let me know if you could still see this screen here on the right-hand side. It should say, "Welcome to the DLP Capital Partners Investor Portal." All right. So with that said, this is what you'll do if you see here when we come into the portal. So what you'll do is you'll come into the offerings page, and if you click on that DLP housing fund that we saw, it'll bring you to a page very similar to this one. Now this is the page for our brand new DLP housing fund offering. It's our $1 billion REIT, hybrid REIT that we've been talking about. We're very, very excited for the launch of this fund. So you can see here on the offerings page, viewing all photos. You can look at any number of different kinds of photos here for any of our offerings, as well as additional information. So what we'll do here is we'll come into now the fact that you can actually see a number of these items on both sides. So when you're looking at it this way, you have our housing fund, of course, our income and growth fund, lending fund, and our notes, all of which contain our fund documentation. They will contain our historical reporting, audits in the cases of the funds that have been out for a while, as well as the narrative reporting that we put out talking about the performance of each of the funds. So that's a good, just a high-level overview as to how to get in for the first time to your portal. Again, if you have any questions, you can please feel free to drop them into the chat box, and we'll address them here as well. Now, when you look at someone who's an existing investor, so the majority of folks on this call here today are existing investors. So what I'll do is I'll jump back over here. So this is John Sample's investment. So this is a sample investment that we put together so you can actually see what your portfolio will look like. So when you look at the Welcome to DLP Capital Partners page, John has $500,000 already invested in our DLP lending fund, and he reinvests the distributions. So if you can see here, there was a $500,000 investment, $23,064 distributed, which have been reinvested. So now his portal equity balance is $523,064. If John took the distributions on a monthly basis, which you can see all of the distributions here on the right-hand side under recent activity, his balance would remain at $500,000. That $23,000 number there would still show as being distributed, but his principal balance would remain the same. Now, the other thing I'd like to update you on here and kind of touch on is, in the past, if you had funds awaiting deployment, so you've invested with us, you've funded your investment and it's awaiting deployment, previously you were not able to see that separately within your portal. So this is another upgrade to the portal itself, where it will break out funds awaiting deployment. So John recently made a $100,000 addition to his lending fund account, which is awaiting deployment. So what will happen then is, once that is deployed, there will be a notification sent out, and then it will be joined with his existing lending fund equity account. So under our dashboard here, we can see all of our kind of bigger topic folders. But before we jump into the other documents, et cetera, I'd like us to go into view all investments so we can take a deeper dive into the investment itself. So this will take us over to the next tab. So you have a really nice, clean view of things here. Now, some folks that are with us, of course, they have 7, 8, maybe 10 holdings with us. These are all going to be broken down here on our portal. For ease of use here, we show that John has our lending fund equity investment, as well as that $100,000 awaiting deployment. So you can now see that because of the fact that he's been reinvesting his distributions, he has that $523,064 balance, and then also this additional $100,000. So it's accounted for from day one that he has $623,064 with us at DLP. But because it's broken out for deployment, there's no confusion on what's what and kind of where does everything stand. So we wanted things to be a little bit cleaner here, be able to have a better view of how that all works. Now, it's a pretty nice breakdown here, but what you could also do is, if you wanted to group your investments by account, it gives you more of a list view rather than that kind of visual view, which will also just show you, again, those two breakouts, but then also the cash flow based on the distributions. So this will show the way that the investment has been made, and then this green line here, just as it was here on the first view, is capital in, or the investments in, and then any distributions that have been paid out. So this experience really provides for a nice, smooth, and I believe logical way of moving through the portal. So in order to see, say for instance, those distributions that we saw on the dashboard, there's always at the bottom of the screen here the opportunity to move on to the next step. So what someone would want to do here is, if they wanted to download their transactions for all of their investments, they can click on this and do so. It would create an Excel spreadsheet that you can download and review and double check your numbers. I know we have a lot of investors on the call here today that are very astute, of course, and like to do their own calculations in comparison to ours to make sure everything is good to go. So that gives you that ability to pull your own reporting in addition to some of the additional reporting that you'll see as well. All right. So the next thing we'll do here is we'll move over to documents. So as you can see on these top level items here, you can see the most recent statement here for John's account, as well as the January lending fund report. So that all came out and will be populated automatically to everyone's portal on a monthly basis for the lending fund and on a regular basis for the other funds. So what we would do here is, I already took the liberty of clicking on the account statement, which is actually another reason why we like this portal, is because in the past, distributions were not broken out in terms of a preferred return, which of course, as you know, you have a preferred return plus that profit split payment that you're paid if you're in an equity position. So it wasn't really differentiated or delineated which one was which. On these statements, which you can certainly see here are nice and clean and concise, you can actually see, and I'll make this a little bit bigger here for my own benefit as well, that you can actually see not only the preferred return distribution of $4,315.51, but then also the EDC, excess distributable cash, or profit split distribution as well. And then it'll show those both being reinvested onto the principal balance. So it gives you a nice, clean way to view everything. This particular investor has been with us since August 15th in this sample when his first initial contribution was made. So you can see the progression of how those investments and distributions were made and paid out as time went by. So there are a couple of additional topics here as far as the overall portal is concerned. Under emails, we'll regularly send you updated emails, of course, letting you know when your reporting is ready, when there is another event coming up, making sure that we're staying in constant communication with you as investors. And what will happen is you'll be notified, and then any of those email exchanges will come into your portal here for your back and forth with us and the team. And one of the other really interesting things that you can do, going back to your dashboard, is that you can actually reach out to us directly as well through the portal. So what you can do here is if you just click down on info.dlpcapitalpartners.com, that'll send us, you can craft a message, send it to us. It'll come into our mailbox right away and also be saved on the DLP Invest portal. So you have a record of our conversations. You have an easy reference so you can see where everything stands and the follow-up items that we've taken care of over time. And then finally, as far as the overall topics are concerned here, you can see the tax center. So when you have the K1s and all of that are being worked on at the very moment here, they will also be housed in your tax center, which of course you would get an automatic notification as well when that comes on. You can also change your settings. So of course you can change your password. For this particular account, we did not have two-step authentication, but for security purposes, I would definitely highly encourage you to do so. That way it sends you a code to the phone number of your choice where you can actually get in, and it's just an added level of security. So of course that's incredibly important for us as well. Now, a couple of other things that we can talk through here before we move on. If you click on, and I'll just kind of go back and do that again so that we can see, while you're looking at this dashboard, instead of kind of going from page to page like we did, these are also links to your deeper dive. So what you can do here is you can actually click on that link, which will take you to the same idea here as far as your overview. So it talks about the contributions you've made, and then the additional contributions or distributions that were made, and then the equity balance, which also gives you a reminder here. It's the capital in, capital out, and then any return of capital. So, for instance, if John had made an investment of $500,000, but then he needed to take out $75,000, for instance, that would also reflect on the cash out and reflect on his total equity balance. So everything is in one spot. You have recent activity here. As well as if there were, we don't have any emails in this example, but if there were emails, you would show the complete timeline of correspondence as well on this page. Okay. Again, we have our documents under the same level here, and then transactions as well, which we'll show you now. With the new housing funds, what we will do is on investments over 500,000, we will employ a capital call structure. So that will be something that you can actually see within your portal as well as to those capital calls and when they've been made. So I definitely wanted to touch on that for sure. And then the other thing here is the ownership. So if there was an additional commitment that you made, this is exactly where you would see it here as far as the commitment that you've made, and if it hasn't been funded yet, it will reflect that as well. Okay. So what I'd like to do now is I'd like to go back over here to our presentation. A couple of items to touch on here before I open it up for questions. So we're all back here on our next steps. So we did get a couple of questions here from a couple of folks here. And so when we look at additional documentation being uploaded this week as a part of our final integration, all of the historical reporting, as we mentioned, on all of the funds, historical investor statements. So right now, for many folks, you may only have, January and possibly December's statements in there. This week, you will have your full history, as well as the fund documentation and asset/loan tapes, as you're accustomed to seeing on your previous portal. Then the other item that we have are the separately managed account investments. Those are also in the process of being uploaded. So those of you who are in the funds at this point, you should be able to see all of those investments that you have within the funds. And then the separately managed accounts that you might have invested directly into a property as a partner, that will be showing as well in the very near future. And then again, another next step that we're very excited about, housing fund documents and the ability to subscribe, which I did not touch on, but you will be able to subscribe electronically as you have before. So what we'll be able to do is we'll be able to send you the offer directly through your DLP Invest portal, where you can, of course, review and sign documentation and complete your investment completely electronically. So we definitely want to go paperless as much as possible, and that's going to help us do that. And of course, under ongoing support, you can always email info@dlpcapitalpartners.com or call us at 610-488-2375 to speak with your investor success team that I mentioned earlier. Myself, Rich, who's also on this call, Don, I know Bob and Mike are on as well as your coordinator team. So with that said, I wanted to make sure that I mentioned our next webinar coming up here on March 11th. You will, if you have not already, be receiving some correspondence there that will allow you to log into this webinar on March 11th at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. And it's going to be Don speaking more and introducing the new DLP Housing Fund. So very, very excited about that. And if you have not had the opportunity to be at one of our dinners, the gala back in Pennsylvania last month, as well as our upcoming dinner on Thursday, the 5th of March here at the Palencia Club in St. Augustine, this will be a great way for you to be able to hear more about the fund, ask more detailed questions about the fund, and we're actually taking questions now to compile a list of things that we can answer for you even before then. So very, very excited about that. So what I'd like to encourage everyone to do now is I do have our chat box here open as well as Q&A. Would love for you to ask any questions you have here, talk through any items that you can think of, and we'll be happy to help. So our first question here from Kristen, I do see the lending statements are for January only at this point. The overall statements certainly will be done this week, where you can see back to the inception of your account, in addition to the most recent statements. Great question. Okay. Other questions? We have some time here, and I'd love to help wherever possible. Quiet group. I'm not sure if I got you before or after dinner time, so maybe hungry and wanting to hop off, but that's fine. All right, I'll have one more call for questions. Please feel free to put them into the chat box. Okay. Great. Another question here from John. Do you plan to add portfolio growth, inception to date, month, or year to date for each investor? Yes. Yeah. So that's certainly something that we'll be able to populate actually automatically once all of that history is uploaded. So yes, you will be able to see that historical portfolio growth as well as time goes by. Great question, John. And Bill has another question here as well. The statements, just reiterating here, yes. So some of the statements should be there for sure. And the rest of the statements that are not yet uploaded are in process here this week. So we are finalizing February's reporting, and that information will be on as well as January if you cannot see it yet. One of the things I did want to mention is that we did have several folks who joined the portal, and some of the funds, for instance, the Preferred Returns Equity Fund, which is transitioning into the Housing Fund, was not yet on as of, call it 2 weeks ago. So what I did this morning was I went and I updated everyone's account so that you should be able to see your full portal. So if you previously had any issues seeing your entire portfolio minus the SMA investments you may have, which are still in process, you should be able to see any and all of those offerings at this point. Great questions. Kristen, John, Bill, thank you for your questions. Really appreciate that for sure. What I'll do here is, since we do have, let's see, any more questions here. I think that's it as far as the portal is concerned. Dave, I do see your question. I'll follow up with you there as well. And then what I'd like to do here is just put our email and phone number up again for easy access. Again, I mean, certainly you could always reach out to your primary contacts, whether that be Rich, myself, Bob, Mike, or any of the coordinator team. Otherwise, please feel free to send us all a message at info@dlpcapitalpartners.com or call us at 610-488-2375. Thank you all again for your time, and I hope you have a great evening.